This week's episode is sponsored by Bespoke Exterior Specialist Trades. We're a home improvements company in Glasgow who take no upfront payments and is a finance option available as well. We cover all aspects of roofing. We're wall specialists. We do rough casting, smooth rendering, wall coatings. We're also solar specialists as well.
Turning professional and having my debut back in 2016 and getting an injury in that debut, I snapped a tendon in my hand, having to get an operation. So like, you're turning pro and you've got that high profile, like people are saying you've got to be the next big thing in that, and then obviously your pro debut you get pick up an injury, you're just put to the sideline now. We're on to the next one. Again, mate, I'm fully the problem, mate, you know what I mean? I'm an addict, you know what I mean? And I've got certain behaviours that needed to be fixed, but the only person who could fix them was me, and I had to put the work in to fix them, you know what I mean? Again, I was looking for all sorts of outside sources to fix my problem, you know what I mean?
Their awareness and their vibration levels are so low
that
they're unable to even take a look at themselves. No, I'm not saying I'm the fixed, I'm far from a fixed article. Like, I've got so many demons, but I'm aware.
If you said to me 5 years ago, you're going to read this blue book, or you go through 12 steps in this blue book, and it's going to change the way you think and change the way you live, and you're going to, you know what I mean, you're going to live an amazing, free, beautiful life, I don't know, I mean, I'm a scheme boy, all that stuff when they came back into play. Take a lot to meet me in there, know what I mean, especially life's done me a good few times, know what I mean. The hell and in the hell's basement, I've been there, know what I mean, and then obviously I've came back and I've risen up and I've sort of got it back together, and I've changed my life a bit, which is obviously a good thing. It's fun to me to support the sports. Like, people take it a bit serious, not that thing, mate. I'm like, I just enjoy this. Obviously I'm in the top, I think I'm the top 11 or 10 in Britain, I'm in amongst that, you know what I mean? Like, my aim for the end of the year would be to box for the British title.
So, welcome to Social Sessions. Today we're joined with British Olympian Aston Brown. How you doing, Aston?
I'm good, my man. How are you? Okay?
Good, mate. Good. On a bit of it's been a long time coming.
I know.
But it's really good to have you on. So, I'm just going to kind of do what we do with other guests, just kind of take you back to. So, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Govan, in Courtawayne Alley.
Oh, famous Wayne Alley.
I had a good childhood, mate, know what I mean? That was my roots for a young age, and it was good time. Mad times, but good.
I know that's. I mean, we talk about it often. Growing up in the schemes, that it can be. It's just the way things are, and especially back like when news were. It was the kind of time when everybody was all running about the streets at Disney,
gang fighting and all that.
Gang fighting and all that. So, what was school like and all that? Was it easy time, or was it kind of?
I went to school. I went to primary school in Renfrew. I went to high school in Renfrew. Know what I mean? I went to Trinity High, and it was good times. But I was mostly focused on my boxing career as a very young age. At 8 I started, know what I mean, and that's all I wanted to do, you know what I mean. I was obsessed with it, and even through high school I was obsessed with it, and nothing. I wasn't bothered about getting exam results, I just wanted to be a world champion boxer, know what I mean, and so I just focused on that, know what I mean, and probably didn't put enough hard work into school, which I should have, know what I mean, which I probably go like that now. I should have done better, but I'm in the right position now in my boxing career, so it was all good, mate.
I think we speak about obviously the school curriculum and stuff like that on here a lot. And school isn't for everybody sometimes, do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes we should be kind of honing in on what boys
are interested in,
like maybe boxing, and then see if they do. I remember when I was in Addiewell, I think it was street soccer come in, and they done English hires, but they done it as you were writing a football match report, and all the boys passed it.
Exactly, there you go.
Because they knew what they were.
Got an interest
in it. Do you know what I mean?
As you said, man, it's not for everybody, is it? And I don't think it was for me, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Because I was just sport driven. Football at the start, then boxing, that was it. You know what I mean? That was like, so I found what I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
And obviously, like you went to quite big heights in your boxing career, especially at an early stage. So how was that kind of like going in like amateur, young and stuff, like, and having that kind of reputation? Was it hard, or was it? No,
I was a very successful amateur for a young age. You know what I mean? Right through like winning the Scottish Championships, going to international tournaments, and then obviously 2010 I went to the Commonwealth Games to represent my country in India. You know what I mean? And that was sort of the takeoff. Like, you're going to be try to be a very successful amateur. Joined the GB squad, mixing with some famous names. You know what I mean? As of today, and I had a great amateur career. You know what I mean? I had 137 amateur fights, which is a lot. And mate, I had a brilliant time. You know what I mean? It was a great time in my life that I really appreciate now because it's away. You know what I mean? Then I go, I should appreciate it more because I remember I got to Sheffield some weeks. We're at Sheffield Monday to Thursday every single week when you're on the podium squad on the GB setup. And I remember me and Josh Taylor used to be like sometimes, can't be arsed this Monday, you know what I mean? And I look back at it, man, fucking hell, I can't go back and do it all I would, mate, you know what I mean? But that's life, innit?
I know, it's living. I mean, obviously you've got a big fight coming up, we'll go into that later. And but, I mean, what was it like, obviously, because we hear names Josh Taylor, Anthony Joshua, and you kind of superstar, like, does it sometimes you feel like, I should have been that? I should have been, like, and obviously we'll go into the injury and how things happen, but...
Aye, definitely. I believe I had the same amount of ability and talent as these people, know what I mean? They're just life, innit? Life comes into play and things happen in life and it's out of your control sometimes and you make maybe wrong decisions, you know what I mean? But again, I mix with these people. I'm still good friends with these people to the day. Josh Taylor's one of my best men at my wedding next year. You know what I mean? Still my best mate, you know what I mean? And I speak to him all the time. But like, you still speak to Josh Taylor? He's just tell Josh Taylor I know, and same way like Anthony Joshua and that. I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago on a FaceTime and I knew these guys when we had nothing.
I know.
You know what I mean? I knew these guys when we didn't have much, you know what I mean? And now they're superstars and worth fortunes, but they're just the same boys. Nah, they don't. It's the same boys to me, mate, you know what I mean? And they're just friends and it's good. It's good to keep it like that, you know what I mean? It's grounded, isn't it? Keep yourself grounded.
Definitely. And I mean, listen, you still get time. And obviously when I was researching, you did have that profile as like you were going to be the next kind of big thing and maybe more than Josh, do you know what I mean? Like, and I know like Josh Taylor went on to do the amazing things, do you know what I mean? But like when I was researching, it was kind of saying like you were very talented. So obviously like this great career, you go and have this fight and what happens, like obviously the injury, it's like, it must have been heartbreaking, man.
Well, it was like turning professional and having my debut back in 2016 and getting an injury in that debut. I snapped a tendon in my hand, having to get an operation. So like, you're turning pro and you've got that high profile, like people are saying you've got to be the next big thing in that, and then obviously your pro debut, you pick up an injury. That's it. You're just put to the sideline now. They're on to the next one. Know what I mean? That's the hard thing about sport, I think, as well. It's ruthless, mate, know what I mean? And so you're sitting in your own head, know what I mean, going, right, I need to wait to get back on the wagon. It's going to be too late. I'm a young man at this time, know what I mean? So I want it now.
I know.
And I don't realise I've got time, but I don't realise that at the time. So you're just going, it's over. I'm not going to have a career in me. I'm not going to be this star I thought I was going to be. I put all this work in there the years and it's not going to happen, know what I mean? And then obviously all things come into play. So obviously we'll speak about, know what I mean? And it was a hard time. It was a very, very difficult time, know what I mean? I always thought, I'll get through it and all that, but that was a hard one because I thought pro debut, bounce, one next couple of months before you know it, a couple of years I'll be up there, fight for British titles, moving on, know what I mean?
So your trajectory and it is just kind of like wiped out in an instant, do you know what I mean? In your head. But like obviously as a young person we think we know everything, like and you think you've got it off like planned out. So what was it? So obviously you still managed to win the fight, didn't you? Like,
I still won the fight, no problems. Know what I mean? It was after it I took my glove off and my horn was like a balloon. And I was like, oh no, I know I've done something here. Went and got it checked, scans and stuff like that, and they're like, need an operation on that. An operation going to put you out for say 6 months because of the recovery time and all that stuff. I'm thinking to myself, it's the end of the world. I mean, it's the end of my career, or am I going to get back? Know what I mean? What am I going to do for 6 months? Know what I mean? I'm a full-time athlete.
It is a recurring theme, like even it doesn't matter what profession you're in. We like in this podcast we've had like musicians, actors, football players, like a whole array of people. And when something like that happens, it seems to be a pivotal point where your mental health dips. You're looking for a solution, and sadly, that solution comes as something else, a substance usually. Do you know what I mean? Whether it be alcohol, cocaine, whatever it is, whatever your vice is. So. How did that? I know obviously that's kind of the trajectory you went. You still staying in the wine alley when it?
I still stayed in Govan. I still stayed in Govan, man. I had a flat in Govan at the time. Know what I mean? I still stayed there. My big girl was there, my ex-partner and all that stuff. Know what I mean? It was a family home, if you want to call it. Know what I mean? But obviously at that time, as you spoke about, I ended up going on to using drugs. Know what I mean? And then found that I think I was looking for something that was going to fill that gap, you know what I mean? That gave me that buzz again, gave me that exciting. Because as I said, I was a full-time athlete, training twice a day, every single day. That was the buzz I got. That was the buzz of my life. You know what I mean? That was what made me happy, and it was sort of took away from me. You know what I mean? And I tried drugs, and before you know it, that gave me that bit of buzz back, that bit like, oh, everything's going to be fine. You're making all these ideas up in your head. I'm going to get back everything. But what I didn't know, before you know it, I'm out of control. You know what I mean? And I'm a drug addict. You know what I mean? And I'm in the day, I'm a grateful drug addict because obviously we'll speak about it a bit more. But I'm a big believer. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff that's happened in my past has put me here today. You know what I mean? And I do the right things today, mate. So you know what I mean? I call myself a grateful addict.
No, definitely. And I think like the problem is when you find that the drug that fills that gap, it works for a short period of time. This is a sad thing. So sadly, you believe the lie in your head that you can control this, and because what you've controlled a massive boxing career where you're like, if I can control that, I can take this for a couple of months, I'll be back.
Nobody will know.
Do you know what I mean? So what was it like? Obviously, when you're starting to feel that addiction taking control, what was it like? Did you start getting the kind of anxiety and all that kind of stuff?
Like that. It came very, very quickly with me, you know what I mean? Paranoia, anxiety, you know what I mean? No eating, losing mass amounts of weight. And again, I'm trying to cover this up for everybody. You know what I mean? Because everybody from the outside probably looks at my life and goes, it's good, it's nice things, and you're a professional boxer and you're going to be a star. You're out of an injury, but it happens. But my head doesn't think like that, you know what I mean? So I'm playing that game. I'm using drugs. I'm trying to hide it for everybody. You know what I mean? Life is becoming unmanageable, as they say. You know what I mean? In recovery, my life is unmanageable. You know what I mean? And obviously, I'm full of anxiety. I'm depressed. You know what I mean? I'm only no depressed when I use drugs. You know what I mean? But that makes it all worse again when you're not. So it's just a full blown spiral out of control. You know what I mean? Very quickly for me.
So how did it? Obviously, I know it spiraled, and then how did you start like? How did crime come into it? Was that always a part of growing up, or was that something that you were? Because obviously, growing up in the wine alley, you'll see all that. Do you know what I mean? And
it was probably a part of growing up a bit. You know what I mean? As well, a big part of it. Sorry, you know what I mean? I'm fair, we're off with the schemes. You know what I mean? It's involved in the schemes, isn't it? It's a scheme thing, gang fighting, whatever. So I'd seen a lot of crime. You know what I mean? I'm quite a fiery character. I'm a professional boxer. I'm a fighter. I mean, I love it. You know what I mean? I'm quite a fiery character. I'm quite handy, and you know what I mean? I wasn't shy. But I could probably, when I'm full of drinking drugs, you know what I mean? I'm definitely 10 times worse. You know what I mean?
Which for most people are. You very rarely meet somebody that large amounts of drinking drugs enhanced. Do you know what I mean? You don't see it, but in your head, it's like you're just doing what everybody else is doing. No, you're a young boy. You're just doing what everybody else is doing. Do you know what I mean? I might be wrong in this, Aston, but partly would have probably been like when you were partying and that, going, fuck, I'm missing out on this when I'm doing this boxing.
Because when I didn't start really, I drank and stuff like that. It was like, hungover next day. No, I never touched drugs until my 20s, you know what I mean? Like 25, that's around that age, you know what I mean? 24, 25, you know what I mean? So I went through that school phase or that teenage phase where everybody was experimenting drugs and drinking it, and I was totally just focused on me and my career, you know what I mean? So again, as you said, I probably missed out on all that, and when I did get a taste for it and that, I was like, I missed out all the years, and it spiraled out of control very, very quickly, you know what I mean?
I know, and it does with so many people, Aston, and so obviously I know you ended up in prison, right? So how did that, obviously don't need to go into anything, but how did that come about? Just obviously, was that just where it was manifesting towards anyway?
I was on a really, really bad, I was on a long bender, if you want to call it, for a few months, you know what I mean? Isolated in the house myself, and I was just out of control, mate, you know what I mean? Using drink and drugs every single day. And I committed a crime in end of 2017, you know what I mean? Which eventually got up to me a couple of years later, you know what I mean? And then, as you said, I went to prison for it, you know what I mean? And again, it was a massive, it was wow, it was all the papers, it was, of course, I mean, the ex-professional boxer done certain things, but it was a life lesson, as I say, you know what I mean? And it was a problem, and to be honest with you, at that time, and my old man always says this, I needed you. know what I mean? Because it was either going to be one or two things, you're going to die or you're going to get life, know what I mean? So I needed it, mate, know what I mean? I think I did at the time, which is mad to say. People go, who wants to go to jail or who needs a jail? I did that time.
No,
I was out of
I know.
control.
It's somebody, obviously, like, I don't name names and all that, but some of the people that you knew in that are people that are obviously in that lifestyle. And when you're mixing with these people, it becomes, we were kind of talking about it, it becomes normal.
Aye.
And then you need to retrain your full
way of thinking.
way of thinking, and which is hard. And to me, this is only me. I don't know how prison was for you, Aston, but prison to me never worked. Like I'd done everything myself, like to change. Do you know what I mean? Like, I say it a lot. I wasn't screened for trauma going in there or anything like that, and nobody was there for you when you were saying like, I'm in here for something I've never done.
Aye.
You were just there. You were a number. Like you were convicted, which is fine. Like obviously, I get it. Do you know what I mean? But there was mass amounts of trauma getting built up every day in prison. You're on that fight or flight. Was that the same for you?
Aye, and it's the thing as well. It's like, I was one of the ones like, your prison will fix me. I'll not be able to take the drugs at my choice. No, I'll get half a drink and I'll hit the gym and all that. But quickly, when I came out of prison, I quickly realised that institutions and schemes and new places to go and stay and whatever, people in life, they're not the problem. Nah, Aston's the problem, you know what I mean? As much as I'm not saying schemes and stuff don't, you know what I mean, create certain problems, you know what I mean? But I'm the problem, mate. You know what I mean?
It's identifying your role in that toxic environment, isn't it? And it's on you go.
No, I again, mate. I'm full of the problem, mate. You know what I mean? I'm an addict. You know what I mean? And I've got certain behaviours that needed to be fixed, but the only person who could fix them was me, and I had to put the work in to fix them. You know what I mean? Again, I was looking for all sorts of outside sources to fix my problem. You know what I mean? Doctors, rehabs, whatever it is. You know what I mean? And again, we'll probably speak about it, but the only thing I've worked and changed my way of thinking and, you know what I mean, and gave me a new way of life was the fellowship, 12-step program. You know what I mean?
No, I think like obviously when you're operating in prison, you come out because it just heightens your fight or flight, and you've probably been in the wine alley, you've probably been in that mode and not even known it.
Aye.
And then boxing and stuff, so you've probably been like used to that. Do you know what I mean? So we were talking about it earlier. I mean, I don't know how much you were in, but some of these guys that you meet in prison are lovely boys, and I know people often say how can they be lovely? They're in prison. But you know what I'm talking about?
100%.
But they're addicted to chaos, and they're addicted to but their awareness and their vibration levels are so low
Aye.
that they're unable to even take a look at themselves.
Aye.
No, I'm not saying I'm the fixed. I'm far from a fixed article. Like I've got so many demons, but I'm aware of my role and the responsibility I need to take for certain things. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what it. So probably try to say, how did you become aware? How did you raise your awareness? How did that become into it?
Aye, it's a hard one, mate. Like the awareness of like, again, having a good look at yourself. See, like I done it in prison. You know what I mean? I done it in prison because again, I was like, right, I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to be the right person. I'm going to be the old Aston Brown. I always say I'm going to be the old Aston Brown. Everybody knows, you know what I mean? I'm going to get back. My head screwed on, you know what I mean? Get my head down, do my time, you know what I mean? And be a better person, be a good person, you know what I mean? You know what prison's like, it's a mad place.
I know.
As we were speaking about earlier, it's like head up, chest out, you know what I mean? When you go behind the door, it's like, I can breathe now. But all that, it's not even that prison didn't work for me. It's nothing about it working or not. It was, I thought I cracked it. I've not been on a madness, you know what I mean? I've not done anything wrong. I've been locked up for a certain amount of time, you know what I mean? The world's changing, COVID was involved and all that, so going to come out, it's a fresh start. I didn't know, mate. I didn't know I suffered from an illness, you know what I mean? And you know, I'm back out and I'm using again and I'm spiraling out of control, you know what I mean? Once I put one on, I can't stop. As they say, it wasn't until, because I'm just over 3 years clean and sober, you know what I mean? It wasn't actually until that last sort of surrender that and then went through the programme with my sponsor and stuff and had a real good look at myself, because Aston was fine.
Aye.
You know what I mean? My life was fine. I could control everything, you know what I mean? That was my choice.
Aye.
When I look back at it now, it wasn't. I don't have a choice. But because it's the ego and the pride that comes in it, you know what I mean? Oh, I'll sort it, I'll do this, or you're just saying sorry so you can shut people up and then just go and do what you want and all that, you know what I mean? It was just all about me.
You become the behaviours that serve you well in prison, right? don't serve you well in the community.
No.
I say that a lot because you need to be kind of manipulative and ahead of the game in prison. Do you know what I mean?
You always need to be one step ahead, mate. Know what I mean?
Looking at angles, because most people that are coming to you have got an agenda.
Of course.
So, and as we spoke about, you see some horrible things. You see best pals setting best pals up, and you see other like things that you just go fucking hell. Like it's
stuff
horrible.
that you never ever like. People, I used to get visits every single day with my fiancée and my mum and dad and my pals and all that, but it was nothing I was ever going to really sharing. Know what I mean? Because I didn't want anybody to worry. Not that they had to worry about me, but what I'm saying is that it still puts another thing in somebody's mind. Like, I wonder if everything's alright. I think there's something's going on, but I mean, as you said, it's like you got there and there's all sorts of madness going on.
I know.
I'm not going out and sharing that with my people, know what I mean? I'm the one in here doing it and I'll deal with it, know what I mean? But it's no easy because, as you said, prison's just a big agenda in it, really, know what I mean? Everybody's got an angle, everybody's trying to do something. There's never just a day it's just quiet. It's always something, you know what I mean? And you don't know that if no issue been in there, know what I mean?
I know, and I think, I mean, we've obviously you look at the prison system and it's a mess now, do you know what I mean? And I know you do some prison work, we'll go into that later, Aston, right, and do some great work in the prisons, but how do you think, I mean, this is a question I don't think anybody can answer it, but how do you get these boys that are like so lost in that system, so lost in the game or whatever you want to call it, how do you get them to realise, like, get their awareness to that level where they can hang it? Like
changing mindsets, isn't it, mate?
It's hard, it's hard to watch people that you like.
Exactly. It's never ever just like go in and share or have a meeting with them and you've changed their mindset and they're never going to do anything. It's a long process, just like the recovery's a long process, know what I mean? I'll be an addict for the rest of my life, know what I mean? It's never going to go like that one day, that's me done now, I'm not an addict. Do you know what I mean? It's a lifelong thing, but I think changing mindsets, as we say, well, I'm working, obviously doing a bit of prison work, know what I mean? We're changing mindsets to build safer communities. It's not about like, I change your mindset when you're in there now, but like, when I get out one day, know what I mean? You need to take that, what we're trying to work on out there. Know what I mean? There's no point just doing it on here and you go out and get back up to the mat. There's no point. That's just wasting your time, wasting our time. Know what I mean? So I think it's a mindset change, mate, but a lot of work needs to get in it because, again, it's not just going like, you don't need to do that stuff because I don't do it anymore. Look at me. That doesn't work for people.
No, and especially young ones, like they just look and go, you really need to get them identifying you.
And opening up.
I
always say that now. It's like, because I was the guy that was like, everything cool. I was a brand new guy. I'm brand new. Everything's brand new. But see, internally, I was dying, man. I just wanted to tell somebody how I was feeling, know what I mean? But no, for years and years I couldn't because my ego, my pride, what people thought of me, all that stuff, all that bullshit, as I say today. It's just all bullshit to me. But try to break your barriers when you're talking to people, your young boys that are in prison, that is difficult because I've been there and I know nobody wants to let their guard down.
I know.
But the work we do is quite good, know what I mean? It's a safe place that people can come and speak about things, know what I mean? And then obviously we do a bit of training with them in the gym and stuff like that, man. So I'm seeing progress with it, know what I mean? I'm seeing progress. I'm definitely feeling as if mindsets are changing, know what I mean? Nobody's fully fixed because I'm not fully fixed, know what I mean? I'll never be fully fixed. I've still got all sorts of defects, know what I mean? I've still got all sorts of issues and problems, but one thing I do is try and get a wee bit better every single day with them.
Which is amazing. Like, I often like I know Natalie and I know Kevin Carberry and all that. See, people are doing some great work, right? And even yourself, Aston, you'll see that the numbers are so low. You're in a prison with maybe 1,000 people, 800 people, and you're hitting maybe 5 or 6. And listen, it's amazing. You're getting the chance to change the boys, but the problem's huge. Do you know what I mean? Massive. And I think I don't know how because what's happening is they come down safe place, but as soon as they leave that safe place, they're not in that safe place again. And this is what I often say is like, how can a prison be trauma informed and when it's traumatizing you every day? Do you know what I mean? Like every day you're in there is adding another layer onto your trauma.
100%, mate. Know what I mean? It's just pure trauma in there. Know what I mean? And I don't think you can really see it any other way. Know what I mean? So, and again, we need to speak about our trauma. Know what I mean? It's hard for prisoners to come down and speak about their trauma because they don't want to tell you their shit. Know what I mean? Because again, they think everybody's got an agenda, even though we're coming in going, we have no agenda here. You just want to see help you get clean and sober and change your mindset for when you do get out, or even if you're not getting out soon, for in here, so you can live a better way of life. Know what I mean? Because It doesn't mean just because you go into prison mean you need to live a miserable life. You can still live a better life, you know what I mean? Especially in there, because we've only got in there, you know what I mean?
Aye, it's wakening people up. But I think, do you know the problem now is there's a mindset that's kind of catching fire, and it's that kind of I kind of blame like Andrew Tate and that kind of where it's there's no such thing as mental health, and there's no such thing like that. It really does matter. It does matter nothing, because it's like that you're telling young ones this that are maybe coming for schemes, and then they're listening to these people and then going, I'm weak and all that, I'm weak-minded.
Can't talk to people,
and then they bottle stuff up, and then they do something mental, and they get fucking 7 or 8 years in prison.
Exactly.
And it's instead of trying to kind of get people to go down that road, look, you can open up, and there is people there that want to help you, and there is people. I know you've lived a life of crazy madness where you've had to shield yourself with everything, but you don't need to do that in here. But trying to imagine that, do you know what I mean? Imagine trying to anybody trying to do, and trying to take somebody and do
breaking barriers, right?
I always say it like the judges and that, right? They live their normality, right? Is like they go to a different school, they go to different things, right? They don't live the life that maybe we've lived growing up, right? So, see when they sentence somebody and they call them barbaric and they call them this and that, it's because in their head they can't imagine doing that because they've never lived that life. But sometimes when you see like a sex offender going up or something, and you go, how's he getting fucking slapped in the wrist?
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that's because the judge, but it's because they know people and probably within that circle
system,
that are capable of that. It can only be that. Do you know what I mean? And it often, you're like, how do you get the politics now, you're just jumping from left wing to right wing, and I don't think there is any such thing now. I think people have just got this crazy, you're either the far extreme left or far right, and you're not allowed to have a balanced opinion. Do you know what I mean?
You need to be one or the other.
You're choosing, and it's like it's dead toxic. Like you go on Twitter and stuff like that, and I'll argue like with people on Twitter, and I'll have a laugh in that. But in all serious, it's kind of turned into a cesspit where you've got big egos like Andrew Tate and stuff like that who have got massive followings.
Oh, of course.
And it talks a lot of sense in some ways, right? Say like with some kind of discipline and all that kind of stuff, but then he'll say something like there's no such thing as mental health. So you're going to get young ones going, I'm weak, and I've been there because I've done it myself, probably yourself, like 100%. Going, I'm fucking like behind a jail cell going, maybe you've got to go out and face something you don't want to face, and or a bit of trouble that's happening, and you're like beat up inside, but you know you need to go and deal with it. Do you know what I mean? And it's a hard thing. It's just I don't know, but listen, we can only do the wee pockets of work that you're doing, and some of these things that I try and do as well. We help prisoners. You can only do and try and inform people of what it is. So obviously, like we'll take you back to your kind of boxing, right? So obviously, you go through that phase of kind of like the madness and stuff like that. But we'll take you to recovery actually, because that must have been when you found first. You went into recovery. So what happens? Obviously, madness, back into madness. Who takes you away?
So when I came out of prison, again it was that I thought I was clean and sober when I was in prison. Because I'm not touching cocaine. You know what I mean? And I've put on a lot of weight. I'm big. I'm strong. I'm lifting weights. All that stuff. You know what I mean? All the look at me ego stuff.
The jail toxic
exactly. I know. And I come out and it's that sort of honeymoon period with everybody because I'm out and everything's good to see, but the world's changed, COVID's hit and all that. And it wasn't until probably a couple of weeks later, mate, I'm back using again. You know what I mean? Gone missing for 3 and 4 days. And it wasn't until after that, it was that my fiancé said to me after that when I came back home, you know what I mean, with my head between my knees, he's like, I know somebody that might be able to help you, who is my sponsor of the day. Put me in touch with him. But probably at that time I wanted, looking back at now, I was wanting to get clean sober for her and my family. And my wee girl.
A lot of people do that.
But not for me. But again, you don't know what you don't know, do you know what I mean? So I've probably fully hadn't surrendered yet, which I thought I had. So I went to meet my sponsor and we'd done a bit of work and stuff, and he said, this is what you need to do, this is suggestions you need to do, you need to take on 90 meetings in 90 days, and go through these suggestions, and the old drug user, the old liar, the old cheater, the old manipulator, Aston came back in. So when I was phoning him every single day because that's what he asked me today. He was saying, many meetings you done this week? When I had 21, I had 25. Just lying to him. I don't realise this guy is 10, 11 years clean sober. He can read me like a book. Because Aston knows everything, and Aston, I can manipulate and lie, and nobody will know.
He's done it all himself.
That's my way of thinking, but I mean, that's most addicts, a lot of people's way of thinking. So and before you know it, I'm back out the door, using again, no phone them, again gone missing, out the house, all that stuff. And that was my last time of using. That was my full surrender, as they call it, because when I went home that time, something was different. Internal, like I'd never felt internal pain like this before. I was done. It was death.
Exhausted.
I was exhausted, mate. I didn't want to live anymore. That's always I dare share it. I mean, I didn't know what to live anymore. I thought if this is what all I've got, this is going to keep happening. I don't want to be here anymore. But that wasn't an option for me because again, I've got a beautiful fiance, a beautiful family, and a beautiful wee girl. So picked up the phone again, with my head between my knees. You know what I mean? Thought he's just got to tell me to fuck off. And what he done was he told me to come meet him and give me a big massive hug and said, let's get back on it. And that was 3 years and 2 months ago.
Brilliant.
I've not touched a drink of drug since, mate. Because I had surrendered and I wanted to do it for me. You know what I mean? Me, first and foremost, me. Then everybody else will get the good effect off it. You know what I mean?
It'll become the best version of yourself.
Exactly, mate. But before, I was going, I'll do it because she wants me to get off it. But so I fully hadn't really made that choice. Want to, you know what I mean, get clean sober. So I went through the steps and through the programme, you know what I mean, and I always say this, and I share this quite a lot, is that if you said to me 5 years ago, you're going to read this blue book, or you go through 12 steps in this blue book, and it's going to change the way you think, and it's change the way you live, and you're going to, you know what I mean, you're going to live an amazing, free, beautiful life, I'd have been like, you're off your head. What are you talking about? You know what I mean, I'm a scheme boy, all that stuff that came back into play. One of the most beautiful experiences of my life came through that 12 steps with my sponsor, mate. Honestly, it changed. I've had spiritual experiences and all that, and I wasn't one for believing that. Again, I'm a scheme boy. That doesn't exist. All that stuff. It does. To me, it does anyway. Personally, it fully changed the way I think and the way I view the world. You know what I mean? And the way I treat others. Do I still make mistakes? Of course I do. Have I still got hundreds of problems? You know what I mean? By the way, and I'll never be perfect. I can try and be a wee bit better every single day, you know what I mean? And the day is like over 3 years clean sober, sponsor people, you know what I mean? Take them through the book, attend meetings, you know what I mean? And just put the work in, pray and meditate, you know what I mean? Do inventory, and let a power greater than myself take control of my day, because when Aston runs a day, it's a fucking mess, mate, you know what I mean? So
I know. Listen, I'm no 12 steps, right? And but watching people like that, like even like Big Jordan, Big 5-0, and some of my good pals, like they flourished. You know what I mean? And you do see it. It's like an amazing thing to watch.
All it glowing, mate. So when you go into a room, say, or go into a meeting, and you see a newcomer, and he's ready, you know what I mean, and you give him your time and all that stuff, you know what I mean, you make a wee bit of guidance, and then I've seen it so many times, and it lights me up, because that must have been me at one point, but I don't see myself. A couple of weeks later, boy's got he's fresh, and he's talking and that, and you go, wow, you're glowing. He goes, I know I've got a haircut. I say, I don't mean that. Internally, you're glowing, mate. It's just coming out of you, mate. You're flying, you know what I mean? Stick to it, you know what I mean? So it's good, mate. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing.
So see, like, do you ever look back at like Delhi and look at these things and go, like, to this day, or do you kind of go like that now? Are you able to look at that and go, that was part of my journey? Like, instead of maybe going, I could have done this, and I've done that. See that what if and what should have been and stuff like that. I've done all that. I've beat myself up to the max for all that. You know what I mean? I've used all that stuff and everything. And I can, when I say it now, I can chuckle about it and have a wee laugh about it. You know what I mean? I identify as a grateful addict today, because I believe if I didn't go through what I'd went through today, I wouldn't be able to sit here today and help others and live the way I live today. You know what I mean? I reckon I'd have still been an egotistic maniac. You know what I mean? And full ego, full of pride, and thought I was the main man. You know what I mean? But the day
I'm not that important. I mean, there's a big, massive world out there. I'm not that important today. You know what I mean? I just fall on the deck, as I call it, every single day, mate. You know what I mean? I don't like to get too high. I don't like to get too low. I stay in that middle ground, and I can look myself in the mirror today and go, aye, everything's all right. But I do look back at the times. I do look back at them and go,
you can't know, not
aye, and then, but I'm fully quite spiritual in that now as well. So fully believe everything happens for a reason. You know what I mean? Which is mad, because people might turn and say, I know, maybe if you just done that, you could be a millionaire or be this and be that. And I'm like, that's life, innit? You know what I mean?
See, if you look at like, and obviously, like, if you look at, I'm not religious, right, but I'm spiritual, but if you look at every single kind of main character in any of the kind of, like, the Bible, like even the Quran and all this, these people always give all their stuff away, the Buddha. They always give everything away because you can't hurt somebody that's no nothing.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Obviously, this world you can't do that, but this society we're built into, we're kind of programmed in a certain way. But if you genuinely kind of you're happy with what you've got, do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, listen, I still need to work on all that stuff. I don't claim to be, because, like, I still look at things and go, oh, I wish I could fucking, like, be the next fucking Joe Rogan. Do you know what I mean? Like, of course, like, you have aspirations.
We're only human,
do you know what I
mate,
mean?
I mean,
So
do I want more, bigger and better? Of course I do.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But I'm no the old frame of mind, like, well, I'm going to get it and it needs to happen tomorrow. I was like, if you said to me, we're doing, this is the type of plan, go, let's go and do it now. And if you said it wasn't getting done now, I thought, I'm done, because I need it now. That was the old me. If it happens in the right time, you know what I mean? If it would put your path in the right time, it'll be fine.
Well, that's me. I actually felt, see, like, obviously when we were booting this, I was like, I'm fucking this guy a boot. So, see, because it was like, I'm like, booked it here, booked it there, and but you do in your head go, he's got to be thinking, like, cancel this and move it there, and it was,
but
and
that's
it was
just
like,
your heat,
and it's just my heat,
to sing with that, know what I mean?
Totally.
And I was thinking the same. He's going, I think I'm what I can tell him that it's not like that. It's just like, it's fine, isn't it?
You do everybody else is thinking for them.
Exactly.
And that's when you stop doing that. It's like, I can only. I read a book. It was actually I read a book up in Castle Huntly, and it was actually a boy for governor that gave us it. He gave us the book called The Alchemist, and I've been reading. I was on this good spiritual path. I was doing really well. I read The Alchemist, and it's a kind of cryptic book. Do you know what I mean? But you can kind of take what you want out of it. It's a good book. It's really good. And then I went on to read, like, The Untethered Soul, and I read, like, a few different Gabor Mate's books, and I was flying. Like, it was just my thought process. And I don't, like, it's that way where, see, even though I was in a jail, it was like the jail talk. I was able to disconnect it, and, like, I was above it. I was listening to it, but it wasn't affecting the way I was thinking of that. No, I'm not like that in the day. Like, I've got tons on, I've got fucking a family, and it's hard. Do you know what I mean? My mind is, I could be doing a lot. I could be fucking learning lessons off you, to be honest. But I think it's just, I'm happy with what I've got, and I'm no.
You're content, mate.
I'm content. Do you know what I mean? And I'm no wanting, like, obviously you want more. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing. It's like you do. But we're going to, like, so obviously the boxing industry, right? You're going back in, right? You've got a big fight coming up. Is it Reece Porter? Right, so Reece Porter, right? And that'll be, obviously we'll speak about it a wee bit later, but that'll be on DAZN. And we were saying didn't know how to spell it. Is it DAZN or DAZN? On the Josh Taylor card, isn't it? How do you see the boxing industry now? Because is it hard to go in with the mindset you've got today when you've got these big egos and that? But if that makes sense.
I'm a very, anybody that knows me, I just focus on me. Does that make sense? So, like, of course I pay attention to everybody in the boxing world, you know what I mean? I'm quite content of, basically, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean? I'll be alright with that. And I'm a very focus on me sort of guy in the sport. I mean, you know what I mean? In the sport, because I think it's a very selfish sport. You know what I mean? It's a very, very egotistic sport as well. Again, I try and not get drawn into that, because obviously in the past and stuff like that, being an egomaniac.
Because I'm just wondering, like, obviously, part of boxing is having that ego, and a lot of their champions have got it. Do you know what I mean?
do I believe in my ability and believe in my skill set? 100%, know what I mean?
Which
will
is
I put
amazing.
it in your face? Of course will, but that's just a part of the sport, know what I mean?
But I think it's an amazing thing to see somebody like yourself going back into the sport, because I've seen a lot. See, most of these people with the egos, right? See, when they get beat, usually they hit the bottle, or that usually goes downhill. Like, and you see it with everybody. These egos, as soon as they get beat, you're still unbeaten. You know what I mean? Which is amazing. But do you think you've built up enough barrier? Like, if you when you do go in, if you were to get beat, that you'd be all right with that?
Aye, of course, mate. I have no problem. I'm not scared of defeat or anything like that. Know what I mean? As we spoke about before, man, like, take a lot to meet me in there. Know what I mean? Especially life's done me a good few times. Know what I mean? The hell and the hell's basement. I've been there. Know what I mean? And then obviously I've came back and I've risen up and I've sort of got it back together and I've changed my life a bit, which is obviously a good thing. It's fun to me to support the sports. Like, people take it a bit serious. Not that thing, me. I'm like, I just enjoy this. I mean, because I got myself in a position to get back in. I never thought I'd be able to. Know what I mean? Again, I'm a drug addict. Know what I mean? I've done a lot wrong. Know what I mean? I've been to prison, stuff like that. I thought that was it done. It was ended. Know what I mean? I would just need to swallow that and accept that. Know what I mean? I put the work in, channeled myself in the right direction, and I got back in the sport. Know what I mean? Again, I believe in my talent. I believe in my ability. Know what I mean? And nobody's beating me, mate. That's my mindset. Just my mindset, and it's no ego mindset. It's just nobody's beating me. Know what I mean? On my day, you're not beating me.
Which is, listen, you as we spoke about before, you've mixed with these people, you've boxed with these people, you know their skill set, and we were talking about like who's the best middleweight and stuff like that, and boxing is a sport that there is no point. Well, this is like my opinion. There's no point in going into it if you don't think you're going to win, because it's not a team game where you can have a bad day and you can blame it on the defence, or you can blame it on the striker. It's you.
It's a dangerous game as well. Know what I mean? You need to be very, as I said, like, don't want to be going in there thinking, oh, I'm not going to win this fight. That's too dangerous a sport. Know what I mean? So you need to be in there with full belief.
What do you think? Like, obviously, this is just taking a wee bit off tangent, but I've asked, like, when I had, like, rest in peace with Andy Tam, like, it was a great wee guy. Like, we had him on the show with Wilson and Drew Docherty, and we were talking about, like, Jake Paul and stuff like that, right? Now, obviously, the sport's changing, right? And there's much money into it as usual, right? But see, Jake Paul, I've actually changed my mind on him a wee bit. I watched a program about him, right? And I was like, this guy's not actually, it's a character, right? He's playing, but he's actually, I think he's got a lot of the boxers in, like, kind of, well, the thing he was doing with Canelo there, I think Canelo would have killed him, right? But it was offering him a lot more money, and it's as if Canelo's getting made to fight. I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? It's like,
he's definitely, it's not my thing, right? Because, but listen, I'm not saying he can't box, because he's definitely learned how to box a bit. You know what I mean? It's just like, obviously, it's like coming into the game, all these young boys need to work their absolute entire life to get to it. He bounced in because he's, you know what I mean, his status and whatever it is, and goes to fight Canelo. So that can annoy people. But he's definitely putting on shows with the Netflix and giving people like Katie Taylor and Serrano a massive platform, massive money, you know what I mean? So I applaud him for that, you know what I mean? But when you're talking about fighting Canelo and even fighting, I think he's mentioned Anthony Joshua's name, there's levels to this game. These guys have done this since, know what I mean? This in their blood. I don't believe it's in his blood. I believe it was a path he went and chose because, again, he might enjoy the sport, know what I mean, to learn it a bit and stuff like that. But if he's creating money and creating big shows, because I believe boxers don't get paid enough anyway.
Definitely no. That's what I was going to get to.
Different now the Saudis have came in, they're changing it slightly. But if he's doing a bit of that as well, then why no?
No, it's like, that's kind of what my question was going to be asking, was just like how, because Wilson did say that. Wilson says it annoys him. Like, he says, like, I see the blood, the sweat, the tears that go into making boys boxers. He says, and then you get somebody who comes in and can buy all the best trainers and buy all. Listen, he says anybody could do that. He says, like, and I'm not meaning that. He says, because he said the same. He said, Jake Paul's learned how to box. He can box. He's like, but as you say, he's no done the amateurs. He's no done the blood, sweat, and tears. Do you know what I mean? But there is more of this stuff coming in there. Like, I'm a rapper and I'm going to learn how to fight and I want to fight in Tyson Fury.
Exactly.
It's the money, isn't it?
It's
Like you got offered
money, mate.
if Jake Paul came to you now and went, listen, offer you 50 million to fight us in.
It's on it.
Yeah,
It's on, mate. Know what I mean? And that's the thing. So money does speak, doesn't it? Know what I mean? And it's obviously a money industry. Promoters, and as you said, like Jake Paul's got that much money, he can put on his own show and pick his opponent and pay the undercard absolute fortune and all that. Even though the undercard may think, I'm not even a boxer, but I'm paid that amount of money, you know what I mean? And I get that. I do get it, you know what I mean? And I don't say nah, scrap him, get rid of him, you know what I mean? If he's creating money for people to put the blood, sweat and tears into years, for him to be sat at the ball, but you're one below him, but you're getting paid an absolute fortune, i.e. Katie Taylor, Serrano, stuff like that. And charge on, you know what I mean? Because I'd be a part of it if I was offered. You know what I mean?
No, and I think it's listen, the world, the world's changing, Aston, isn't it? And I think like you've got that where as money, and like the Saudis are doing the same thing. Like there's Jake Paul, like there's really no difference. Do you know what I mean?
No. The thing with Turkey Al-Sheikh and the Saudis and that, they're going like that. Basically, we want the best fights to happen. These weren't happening for years because of certain promoters and certain this. They're jumping in the middle and going, right, listen, we'll take air and we'll make it happen, and obviously paying fortunes. You know what I mean? And boys are basically just kind of saying no to the money, or they just wanted to fight each other anyway. But again, promoters and that wouldn't have been right. But these came in the middle, working with the two promoters. They've joined, and now we're getting some of the best fights in boxing, which is amazing. You know what I mean? Like it's what we wanted for years and years and years. But it harmed.
It looks. I mean, the shows look absolutely amazing. Like the last like Usyk and Fury one, unbelievable. And to be honest, I was very surprised Usyk won. Like I had Fury, like, but again, it was actually I think it might have been Wilson Dockett. He said, "Look, Usyk's a much better boxer than Fury."
He's my guy.
He's my guy. Wilson. I think boxers see that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I seen Fury just this big, and I was just like, "How's he going to do this?" But he done it. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So who like my favourite boxer in the news? Probably I like Tank. Right, I really do. I like his story. I like his hingy. But again, I watched him recently, and he was, I don't know if it was him and Ryan Garcia, but it kind of put me off. I get just that, like, promoting that bullshit. Do you know what I mean? And that ego, and that's the kind of thing that kind of, again, you want to teach young people. Like, see in your gym, like, even when you go to gyms, you'll be taught, I would imagine, like, discipline and this and that. So see when you start going to that height, and then you start disrespecting each other. Some of it's fake, but some of it is real, and it's that ego thing. And I think you're only going to get yourself a fall where you're going to turn to the ball and stuff like that. I mean, and it's a shame. How many boxers do you know that were amazing boxers? I mean, I don't know, like, I know a few up my way who were world champions, and they're just sitting in the pub now, like, telling you how they fought.
And it's happened to loads of boxers. It's happened to loads of boxers aware, isn't it? You know what I mean? Exactly, you know what I mean? Such a hard sport.
Whereas your story could be the opposite.
Let's hope that.
Do you know what I mean?
Of course, mate. It's definitely they've slipped up until now anyway, you know what I mean? And I want to just continue that, you know what I mean? And just keep progressing. And again, listen, I've only got a couple of years left in the game, max. You know what I mean? I'm 34 now, you know what I mean?
Well,
I'm fresh because I had time out and I'm only 7-0 and stuff, and my style probably, I've not took a lot of punishment and that, stuff like that, but it's not about that for me either. It's not like, just keep hitting me. Like, there's things that are going to change. I want to have a family soon. I know. Sorry, my kids with my partner, and do you know what I mean? So, and do different things.
Your priorities change, don't they?
I love the sport, but don't love it too much because sometimes it doesn't love you back. You know what I mean? It's a hard game, so always keep you know what I mean? He's always other things going on. You know what I mean as well, and there's a life outside boxing as well. I didn't think that for all the years. I think when you're an elite athlete, but that is there's no other option. When I'm in training camp, which is just now, like I'm a bit of a different person. You know what I mean? I'm a moody bastard. I don't want to talk about anything unless it's about boxing or what I'm doing that day. The ego and the me comes into it, but it's like a part that needs to be into it because
you can babysit it.
The whole team's focused on you, and it's sort of surrounding what you're doing. So it does get like that, but when I'm maybe having that wee break away, I like to distance myself from boxing. I'm always in the gym, not because it's just what I do, but I like to live life outside that as well. Like, got a couple of horses, bit of drugs and that, mate, know what I mean, and do other things as well, because again, it's a hard game.
No, I listen, I can only imagine. I'm not even going to lie that I could even like think about it. Like, and I know that you watch people like, and I like kind of MMA as well. Do you know what I mean? And I know a few boys that have kind of recently started doing jiu-jitsu, and I think it does, because these boys that I'm talking about were drinkers and stuff. And I think when you start going into the gym and you learn that bit of discipline, your awareness levels go up again, don't they?
Oh, definitely.
And it's amazing because you've got your own gym, is that right? Like, or is it your partner?
No, I used to run a gym and that, but I don't do that anymore. Right. Know what I mean? I'm just basically focusing on my boxing.
You've got
career.
to, haven't you? You've got to.
100%.
I mean, that's
because you
stuff
can't do
probably,
too much. See, when you're trying to be a professional boxer again, having a setup and all that, blah, blah, blah. My partner runs a couple of businesses, but when I'm professional boxing, I'm full deep into it, mate. You know what I mean? I'm just so done. It's just the way I've always been, and I know if you want to hit the levels, you need to be like.
No, you can't not. I mean, and listen, with the research and all that, and obviously I'm looking forward to watching you. Do you know what I mean? Really looking forward to watching it. But where do you see yourself going when you hopefully beat Reece Porter? Where do you see yourself going? Because that's going to put you right. Because I mean, you're 99 in the world, which is like. And you've no been about it. So
exactly.
You win that fight, it's going to bump you right up.
Progresses up again, mate. Obviously, I'm in the top. I think I'm the top 11 or 10 in Britain. I'm in amongst that. You know what I mean? Like, my aim for the end of the year would be to box for the British title. Right. You know what I mean? That's going to be a box for like Alan Faff, two other guys, you know what I mean, which is fine. But I thought that about the last one in Belfast. That progresses. It put us a bit back, but again, because I went there as the underdog and.
6 minutes or something.
You know what I mean? Knocked him in the second round. And we didn't get many opportunities after that, which is life, which is boxing. That's all right. You know what I mean? It's annoying, of course. But then this has came up, obviously, on this massive platform, live on TV again, to showcase your skills, you know what I mean? And hopefully progress you to a bigger fight. I
know it's unfair. I mean, obviously, I don't know, but I know there's a term for it where, like, you're too much at risk. And for
like near risk, all risk near reward.
Aye, for a boxer to go and fight you, you're a risky opponent, so you get dodged.
Aye, of course.
Which is crap.
It's crap, mate. You know what I mean?
But this is your chance, and listen, you're manifesting. Like, I believe, like you're manifesting this, so I do believe that this British title fight will happen, and then hopefully after that. Then you can see yourself. You're at the world title level.
You're just stepping up the levels, mate. You know what I mean? That's all I want to do is just progress to see how far I can get to. You know what I mean? Especially maybe in the short time I've got left in the game. You know what I mean? That's all. I'm all right with that. I want to hit the highs where I can get to.
Even imagine the story if you win the British title. Imagine that's like a film. It reads like a film. That's like a film. I mean, and if you were to get listen, you don't write half a world title. Do you know what I mean? But imagine you won like something like that. Do you know what I mean? It would be like the films you get. Definitely. And it's an amazing story, Aston. So obviously we'll talk about what kind of stuff do you do in the prison then? Like when you go into work with the boys in the jail and that.
What we're establishing called Fighting for Freedom. We go in and we do a bit of classroom work on addiction and recovery. We don't work off any steps or anything like that. We just basically talk about our personal experiences and maybe what things that they can do. Because again, as we spoke about, the prison system is rife with drugs. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of boys in there obviously addicted to drugs, but don't want to be. They want to get clean sober because maybe working with a lot of LTPs and they want to move on, they want to get their tap end, or they want to go to castle and they want to get home at the end of the day. So we're really trying to change that mindset of that ego, that pride, that madness, because it's like you've done how long in here? 6 years, like time to start moving on now and getting out. You know what I mean? Families, kids, whatever, just say. So we're in there doing classroom work on addiction, you know what I mean, and sharing that experience, and the guys that work with experience as well, other guys that are in recovery and stuff like that, and done the steps, and just try to, again, it's but changing mindsets to build safer communities, because it's for when they get out as well. It's not just like, we'll help you in here and we go out, right, see you later. We want to be working with them when they get out as well. We want, like, because I do believe that for some guys that are doing long-term sentences, like myself, there isn't much happening when you get out. You've got so many restrictions. You know what I mean? It's like you can't just walk in and get a job. You know what I mean? So what do you end up going, leading back to doing the stuff that you're in for? And how is that going to change? How many times did you try it and it didn't change? So it's not really got to change this time, is it? You know what I mean?
we spoke about generational trauma, and it isn't rare. Like that, people. I remember watching the BBC programme no long ago, and it was saying, "Oh, like this is crazy. Like that, the dad's in the same hall as the son."
Mm-hmm.
That was just common. I've seen that
very
fucking
common.
loads of times. Do you know what I mean?
That wasn't
I've
uncommon,
seen
mate.
granda,
Mm-hmm.
dad, and the son. I've seen like
Uncles, brothers, everything, mate.
cousins. Some families I've seen maybe 5 or 6 at one time,
Crazy, man.
and it's trying to say to somebody who's lived that life that and you're trying to say to them, break away from that. It's no.
Aye.
So but then they turn around to you, and it's a good question. They go, well, where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
That's where all my family is.
Aye.
Do you want me? Aye, you do need to actually cut the family.
Of course.
No, forever.
No.
Till you build up.
Safe for
safe,
you.
Aye.
I mean, build you up again.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So we do, exactly that. We work with the boys on the basis of like try to change their mindset and how they're going to do when they get out and how we're going to rehabilitate you slightly. You know what I mean? And then we take them out of the gym. We do an hour's training with them on the pads and do a bit of boxing stuff because a lot of them, well, most of them, 90% of them are very interested in boxing, which a lot of young guys are, or men. You know what I mean? And they absolutely love it.
It's a world class sport.
You know what I mean? So we do that with them, mate, and it's a safe place. It's a safe place for them to open up because I know in the jail, not many people open up, so they can come down and say, "Listen, my head's busting." You know what I mean, my wife's doing my head in, or the prison officers are doing my head in, whatever it is. You know what I mean? They can come down, we can speak about it. There's no where they're going to go report back and say this and that. It's a safe place, just like a meeting. You know what I mean? And a lot of the boys get a lot off their chest and feedback to them, and it's good. And I can see the change in them. I mean, I always believe if you see the change without having to ask about it, you know what I mean? I can see it, just visually see it, you know what I mean? The boys are glowing that. They're a boy pleasant to come down on a Friday. We do it Friday, Monday. And they love it. And then see when you go back up to the hall, when they're out, you know what I mean? You just see them bouncing back up some of them. You just think, wow, man. And I'm not talking about kids. I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking about grown men. Some of them are older than me, that.
No, it's because like you try and like educate the public, right? And obviously, listen, there's people there that will shout, just give them bread and water, and that is, listen, you're allowed to have that opinion, but you can't say it when they explode outside.
Don't expect rehabilitation.
No,
then.
do you know what I mean? And to me, Aston, I genuinely, I mean, I say it all the time. I don't think there's no rehabilitation in prison. There's places like yourself, safe places where a very small number of people can come and hopefully change. But see, as in like the establishments, they're just trauma factories.
Oh, definitely.
That are keeping a continuous revolving 70% reoffending rate. You go into stats and you look at the addiction rates, and obviously we spoke earlier about spice. These things are horrible, do you know what I mean? And it's the drug trends are changing, right? But what happens is the prison will take credit for people not using opiate-based substances, and you're like, mate, why?
Exactly.
Nobody's taking that anymore. Everybody's taking different things. Do you know what I mean? But they just want to be. Oh look, we're doing better here. But you're like, it's no, you're not actually doing better. So what would if you had a magic wand? What would you do with the prison system, Aston? What would you bring in? Because obviously we've got HMP Glasgow opening up. I just done a podcast yesterday, a big 5 on Chris McPherson about it, and we were talking about, do we think it's going to change anything? Do we think it's going to be this therapeutic environment where people can go and get better? What do you think?
I think that the prison system, all right, and it's just my opinion, that you need more people like what we're doing, working in the prisons, all right, who have lived experience of prison, know what I mean, and possibly addiction. Addiction, because what I think and what I feel, even in the outside world, when I speak to a boy who's a drug addict or got a drug problem or a drink problem, and he tells me his story and I say, I can relate, because he goes, how? And I go, because I done all that. That's when they start really opening up, because they know, oh, I'm not alone, I can talk to this person. See, when you get somebody who maybe just a doctor or whatever, they come in and they say that you've got a drug problem, I don't feel as if they can open up as much, because they go, well, have you ever been took drugs? No. Are you a drug addict? Are you a drink problem? Do you fear scheme?
Aye.
No. They just shut back down again. Go,
Definitely.
I'm not telling them anything. So I feel as if when I'm in there, I'm speaking to the boys and I gonna maybe tell a bit of my story of how my week's been or what I used to be like. Not they go, is that right? I can relate, Aston. And they start opening up. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just unlocking the wee doors bit by bit, mate. Know what I mean? And more services like that, but again, it's difficult.
Money,
And
isn't it?
it's money. It's I mean, it's
Because
funds and
when
stuff,
they cut the funds, right? They cut, and I get it. Like obviously, if you're living through, we're going through a financial crisis, with different things, and there's things happening. The money, everybody's paying more for everything.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you're going to slash is the prison budget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I get it. I understand. Like and the public would relate to that. But what you don't see back then is when you slash that budget, crime rate will go up, reoffending will go up, addiction will go up. And I think, this is only my opinion, but I've been saying it for a long time, I think you're starting to see young ones on the streets again, violence, hanging about in gangs, where
it's all
I've been away for a while.
Background, know what I mean?
I've argued with people, no, it's no, and it's no the way it was in the 90s. Like, nah, I'm not saying it was.
Well, things change, but you can still see small snippets coming back in. Know what I mean? 100%, mate. Know what I mean?
And I think, I don't know what it's like if his social media's got a part to play in it as well, where you've got a lot of people on here glamorising that lifestyle and stuff like that, and it's people are attracted to it. Do you know what I mean?
Addicted.
Aye, definitely.
It's all addiction, mate. I believe everything is slightly like an addiction, isn't it? It's like, as you said, that is an people are addicted because the crime aspect of it, you know what I mean? It's like an addiction to them, you know what I mean? They can never fall away from it, no less helped, you know what I mean, treated, whatever. And I think the young team are definitely, I've seen a lot myself, as you're saying, you know what I mean? Situations and that, I'm thinking, ooh,
I know.
It's no good, know what I mean? But I can't jump in and save it all, or you can't jump in and save it all, but you just see wee snippets, you go, things are going to be going backwards a wee bit.
I think there needs to be a societal shift on the way that we look at, because I'll ask you this again, and I do this with a lot of people, especially people who work in prisons. How many people you working with in there for Bears Den, Mulgai, Jordan Hill?
None.
Right. How many people are for Mary Hill, Pollock, Postal, whatever?
Aye.
It's poverty. It always goes back to poverty. And crime, unfortunately, is a route out of poverty. So if you say to Aston at 22-year-old or whatever, like when you're at your height of your madness, right, come here, Aston, I'm going to put you here in this house and there's your new life, 95, going, you'll be bored out your skull within a week because you've not worked on anything. But I think that's what they think they can do. It's like harm reduction. And harm reduction, there's a place for it. But it's no the answer to everything. Do you know what I mean? It's not a gold standard, like putting somebody on methadone for 30 years. No, that's not the answer. You need people like yourself and you need people. And listen, the prison, in fairness, are starting to open up more doors for people who have the experience to go in. So I'm not totally hanging, but I just think HMP Glasgow could be another branch. And I think I'll even be shocked if they close Berlin.
I don't think they'll close Berlin. I don't think so. I don't think Berlin will close, but that's just my opinion.
That's my opinion as well. And I just think you're going to open up another jail and it's just going to put the prison population up for 800. Because it didn't
already
tight, you know?
Anyway, so it's like they need another jail anyway for everybody.
I know.
They're overcrowded everywhere.
We look at Berlin, so everybody's 2'd up in Berlin. Some people 3'd up, you know what I mean, in the dorms and that. I don't know if that's still there, but when I was in Pullman, obviously Berlin is an old building. But yet, the first thing they're going to do is take, because of the human rights stuff now, they're just going to take all the people that are doubled up and put them in HMP Glasgow. Whoever's getting moved in there. And I'm just scared that, I don't know. I really like Mick Stoney as well. See Mick Stoney, the governor of Berlin. He's actually all right. And I think his vision is good. I don't think the SPS are ready for it. I can't see them. It's not a vote winner. And sadly, the punitive thing is like punish harder, do this. And you get a day, it's like, again, Andrew Tate and stuff like that, saying, give them 30 years if they caught with a knife and all that. And you're like, mate, fuck. It doesn't work. Look at America, look at all these places. It doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? People.
But you're going to think that's just going to change the crime and.
Aye, because you've got nothing. You're living nothing anyway. So you know yourself. You're beat when you're in that life. You're already you don't
No.
care what's happening to you, do you know what I mean? And you're running on drugs, fueled by living trauma through maybe anger, aggression, and then you'll get obviously people who are living in fear and stuff like that. But no, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I get proved wrong. Do you know what I mean? I hope I get proved wrong, and I hope that it's a success and the therapeutic community comes in. But we'll wait and see. I mean, it's up to £1 billion now.
Aye.
I don't know if £1 billion could have been spent a lot better. I think
Aye.
I think how many services and stuff you could have made up to £1 billion. You know what I mean? But let's see.
We can all just do our part in it.
No, definitely.
And try and work it, man. But again, that's definitely high up in it. That's happening.
Aye. No, I know, and it is just a waiting game, and we'll see how it goes. So, so when is obviously you've got Reece Porter. He's unbeaten as well. Was that right?
Aye.
So both of these going in unbeaten. It's where do you see yourself after the fight? Like obviously, it's got to put you, as we were saying, but where do you kind of vision? What timeline do you vision? Like it could be that British title fight and stuff.
Hopefully by the end of the year, mate, I can get some sort of title fight. You know what I mean? British Commonwealth, whatever it is, but Mel at the British. But after this one, I think that I'm going to be in that mix where like I could get the call up to fight for the British title. You know what I mean? But again, who knows? Because there's a number of boys in there who probably want to fight for the British title and feel maybe they're in a better position. But let's see. You know what I mean? But definitely, if this one another big platform, another TV fight. But again, one fight at a time. You know what I mean? Focus on what's in front of us.
So just like obviously we're just kind of nearly coming up to it, and we'll talk a wee bit. Who's your kind of who you're looking at now in the boxing scene and going, because I think one of the best ones I've seen for a long while is it Berbatiev?
Berbatiev and Bivol and that.
And Bivol,
they're
really
level
good,
fighters, mate. Elite level fighters.
But again, you're looking. I don't know. I mean, it's not really that. Like I watched like Chris Eubank. He's fighting Nigel Bensboy in Aston, and I seen him talking, and I was like, I just don't. I'm not a big fan of Chris Eubank, right? But obviously he's got his thing where he's. I think his dad's working with Nigel Benn or something like that. Like it's madness, right? But a lot of it, to me, is for show.
It's a big
drive up.
It's a big build.
Aye.
No, that they really need to build up that fight, is it? Because
because it's the generational.
I believe it's something. So obviously, really, it is. They don't like each other. Know what I mean? But then again, you become like not an actress, but it does become a show. It does become. Know what I mean? Look at this. So. I believe they don't like each other, but probably know as much as they're making it. Know what I mean? It's just at the end of the day, it's just a fight. Two guys got to punch each other in the face and see who wins. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you still got life outside that, and you know what I mean, life goes on.
I know.
But I'm actually looking forward to it. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to that fight. There's a big, to me, the concern is obviously that Conor Ben's a bit smaller. But Eubank maybe tight on the weight, come a bit older as well, miles in the cloak. Conor's
he's
fresh,
a big hitter, isn't he, that Eubank? I mean, if he is a big hitter.
The two of them can punch, but can Conor Ben only punch at 147, which is welterweight? Is that where he's most dangerous? And you get up to 160, you'll see if he can punch.
Does it make a big difference, obviously, with your weight?
That'll make a massive difference. The two, when you look at the two of them, and especially when you see the two of them in the ring, there'll be a massive size difference. As much as Conor Ben's a big boy, you know what I mean? Height and frame and all that, Eubank's a big guy. He's boxed at super middleweight, you know what I mean? So he's a big guy, but again, that doesn't mean that he's not going to win. No. Because he's going up to the weights and he has to drag himself down, and I reckon Eubank is probably getting a wee bit tight at 160. Which can, and especially his age, can make a big difference. But it's an interesting fight. I think if it goes by 6 rounds, I think Eubank will take away with his size and strength and volume. If Conor Ben comes in and start sharp and catch him, then who knows, he might flatten him.
So is there any up and coming kind of like boys in Scotland or anything that we should look out for?
There's a lot of young boys in Scotland. Reece Lynch, who else? Sam Hickey. Sam Hickey's a cracker. Sam's actually my weight, but he's a wee bit younger than me, and he was on the GB squad and all that. He's a cracker. Who else, man? There's a lot of young fighters that come through, Scottish fighters, you know what I mean? But Sam Hickey and Reece Lynch, I like you two boys, you know what I mean?
two names to look out for. So obviously, like, we're just coming up to the end. Is there anything I've kind of missed out that you want to speak about, Aston, or if you think we've covered everything?
Covered everything, mate. Know what I mean? Aye, it's been quite interesting. It's good to speak about. I like to speak about the boxing side of things, and I like to speak about recovery and a bit of life in between there. Because again, as much as a day that and a day that, I still got a life. I've got a beautiful fiance, and I've got a beautiful daughter who, unfortunately, I've not seen for a long time. But that'll happen in the right time. Know what I mean?
I think you're very inspiring, to be honest, mate. Like, it's very inspirational, your story, and you're very grounded. And it's been a pleasure, obviously, doing this podcast with you. If you got like a message that you would want to tell maybe anybody that is suffering through addiction, mental health, just a wee message.
Listen, see, that side of things is like, especially with the addiction and mental health, there is a different way of life out there, because I never thought for years I was. I mean, I thought I'm a head case for drinking drugs, professional boxer, no professional boxer, professional boxer. You know what I mean? I thought that's the way my life's going to be, and it's going to be miserable. Fast forward so many years, I've just done a full 180. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Because I'm no different from anybody else. I mean, I'm not that important, by the way. There's a new way of life, but you just need to be willing and want to change. You know what I mean? That's all we ask. And if you talk to a sponsor or somebody who's been through the programme, they're only going to ask for a bit of effort. And what is a bit of effort to completely change your life for the miserable, horrible life of addiction?
Especially the effort you put into addiction. You know what I mean? The effort's unreal.
It's unbelievable, man.
If you could put half that effort into, I know.
Know what I mean? And the thing is, like, addiction's no fun, man.
I know.
It's just no fun, mate. And it's, as much as people might struggle with drinking drugs or getting off drinking drugs, man, there's a better way of living out there. That's just me talking from a personal experience. You know what I mean? Especially if you feel as if you've got a drink or drug problem. The fellowship and 12-step programme, I would say, is well before you're in. You know what I mean? But again, a wee bit of effort's required. You know what I mean? But what's a bit of effort for a new way of life?
Listen, Aston, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Brilliant having you.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, mate. Cheers, man.